special guest,
Randy Weld.
This is the Power Motion Picnic Hour.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another edition of the Power Motion Picnic Hour. As always, I'm your host, Dave, and as always, alongside me is
Trevor.
And we are coming at you live today from the John V. Lindsay track in the East Village of New York City for a very special edition of the Power Motion Picnic Hour. What day is today, Trevor?
It's Tuesday, September 12th, 2023.
Yeah, I couldn't be more excited to be here. It's good to be podcasting in person. I think this is our first time doing it in the same place.
It's our first time, and it just so happens to be at the Community Mile.
I'm pretty damn excited about it. We also had an exciting guest join us, as you heard in the intro. We had a nice conversation. That was a nice race preview. We talked about a lot about what we could expect today and what might happen.
Yeah, it's gonna be really interesting to see how it plays out. We got a lot of really good advice from a great runner and a great friend, and yeah, thank you again, Randy.
Yeah, and maybe let's go to that race preview with Coach Friend. And
this is the Power Motion Picnic Hour.
What's your anticipated participation for the Community Mile?
Like percentage of the population
how many people? What do you think? How many times do you think are going to come rolling in?
Jeez, it's going to be a good number. We know that.
Probably more than two, right?
Definitely more than two.
Probably like less than 1,000.
Yes, I think that's that's directionally fair.
It depends.
Unless Tom is out there rallying up the whole race,
the whole island
community.
He's got the whole island behind it.
It all depends on the participation rate from Belgium.
It does.
So there's either going to be like 20 times or they're going to be 1,020 times.
Yeah, depending on how many robots get out there.
Yeah, exactly. What year is this? Are we living in an actual future, or
I was watching Jakob Ingebrigtsen, who's this like phenom track athlete right now, Norwegian, setting the world. I think last week he set the world record for the 2,000 meter.
Okay,
like, that was a distance people did. But you know how these days they have like the lights on the inside of the track that are like the world record pace or whatever. When somebody's going for a world record, they've got like track lighting on the inside of the track that's like moving at that pace. Yeah,
I haven't seen that. Wow,
this is something to check out. Now, I wonder though, would that count as an official robot time for the Community Mile? The lights,
the light itself,
the track lights on the inside of the track.
Are you saying that the track lights are listening from Belgium to the show? And they've gained sentience.
There's a decent chance. So, and if they are, that's going to be a tough time to beat. Let me tell you.
Oh no, I'm not gonna beat it.
They're going under the Bosworth easy.
Yeah,
sure.
I guess anything's a distance, because I remember in high school in winter track we used to have the 1,000.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if that's more common, but
no, that's what I thought. I was like, at 2,000 sounded like an indoor sort of track thing, but
it's like all the things in the indoor are weird. At least I thought, the ones we had, because it was a smaller track and all the events were funny. I'm not all. We had like a mile. You had a 2 mile, but like that's like when I used to run the 600, which is like it's a ridiculous distance.
Nobody distance the 600.
Yeah. The 6, and then that's where we had the 1,000, and I think we had a 50, because that was like the straightaway,
Yeah, a 1,000. That's because the 800. I always thought the 800. I never ran track. I coached track for a little while, having never run track.
You get the gist, yeah.
But in like training with the kids, this was middle school kids. Like the 800 is just the worst. It's like you have to go more or less all out and try to hold on to it for.
I never did the 8, but I did do the 6. And I remember, I don't know if this is true, but I remember our track coaches back then telling us that the 600 was technically the longest sprint.
Yeah.
And like, try sprinting 600. Like I couldn't. Like, First of all, nobody in our division from that I saw from all 9 teams, nobody sprinted the 6. My friend John, who won it every single meet that year, we were both seniors. Even he, who like nobody could touch, he could run it. I think I remember he would run it in 1:14. That was his best, I think. Maybe I should send him a message and see if he probably wouldn't remember. But 1:14.
That sounds about right. Because I
Yeah.
remember the middle school kids that were blazing, like the fastest could do the 400 like under a minute.
Oh,
So-
yeah.
So that would make sense to do 600, 114, and that's moving for sure.
Yeah, and
That's moving.
he's real tall and has long stride, but it wasn't sprinting. It was just like good running.
Hard run. It's whatever
Hard
that
running.
like notch below a sprint is. Right?
Exactly. It was that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so like, anyway, I guess like an Olympic caliber person would technically be supposed to sprint it.
Yeah.
Or our
Yeah.
coaches were just being mean to us, which feel they were good guys, but they gave us a hard time.
Mm,
I mean, the 400 was the max that I would attempt to kind of sprint, but I remember not even liking the 200. Like, I just remember thinking, actually, 200 was kind of fun because you start on a bank and
mm.
Yeah.
then come out on the straight. I really liked the distance 200, but I just wasn't like all that strong at it.
Yeah, you're kind of like it's like a slingshot. And you're kind of like pulling the slingshot as you're going around the corner, right? And then you're like,
Yeah.
as you go down the straightaway.
Yeah.
That's what it looks like, at least.
I did it a bunch in practice, but I don't even think I ever competed in it in a meet. But yeah, I did the 1 and the 4. I don't know. The 2 would have been more fun than the 4.
I like
I
the
would
2.
Yeah,
Well-
I like the 1, but anyway.
Lest we spend another full episode talking about track event distances and possible distances
And seasons.
and seasons, reminiscing. We haven't even asked our special guest the customary starting point, which is to, if you could please say your name for the listener, and if you'd like, you can introduce yourself a little bit or say a little bit more, but just your name would be a great start.
Okay. Well, I'm Randy Weld. And I do not have any world records to my name yet. I have not performed in front of 1,000 or thousands of rabid fans in Australia and stadiums. I have not been first in any category for a city year run too. So I guess I'm just some guy that likes to go out and run slow for a long time.
It's a tough act to follow. As you know, we celebrate all types of running, and we
Yeah.
celebrate all types of special guests, and every person is unique. So that would have to apply to special guests as well. So that's exciting.
Well, I think I definitely fall within that mission of the Power Motion Picnic Hour pod of just celebrating all people, ambulating all ways.
And I'd say, Randy, you definitely, you sell yourself a little bit short, and you have won races.
One race, a race.
Well, and what was the distance of that race?
Well, it wasn't a distance race. That's probably why
Ah.
I won. It was a 24-hour race. It was just
Okay.
nice.
So I think you've referred to White Mountain Endurance maybe before on the pod, may have been
Mhm.
mentioned. This was one of their races, the White Lake Ultra, and it's a 3-mile loop around a lake up in the mountains of New Hampshire. And 24 hours, how far can you go around and around this lake?
Good Lord.
And I actually absolutely loved that format. Two, you could travel light on the trail because you had your own aid station set up, every 3 miles. So just the handheld water bottle was really all I needed out there. Sometimes I would bring the food to go. Sometimes I would just chow on the lap. What was also awesome was that, a couple of things happened that were great and probably contributed to the success of that day. One was that I made I was like chatting with this gal. We started in the dark and I was chatting with this gal heading out, and we made a wrong turn on the first lap and kind of added this like little
Nice.
like half-mile like sub loop off the loop too. So that happened. And then the other thing that was happening was as part of the same event, there was a 6-hour option and
Okay.
a 12-hour option. And the reason this all worked out was you just lost track of where you were kind of you didn't know who was ahead of you, who was behind you, who's doing the 12-hour, who's
Yeah.
the 24, it was kind of like all over the place. So it was really easy to just kind of like do your thing, and not really care about what anyone else was doing. And then I think the other thing that was an advantage was it was early November, and it was a chilly one. And overnight it got down to like the low 20s. And while I don't specialize in running fast, I do feel like I've got some know-how when it comes to kind of managing things, managing layers and managing food and water, like that kind of. And that's one of the things that draws me to ultra distances. And I think the same thing has kind of bit Trevor too, is just there's like the longer you go, the less it is about like pure athleticism and pure running. And there's a lot more kind of strategy and self-management that comes into it. And I love all that stuff.
That's cool.
Too. And it was interesting, each lap, it was like the first part of it, you would kind of catch this like cool breeze, and it was a little bit cold, but if you could just go through that part, it would kind of, as you went around the lap, it got like a little bit warmer. And so I knew that I would kind of warm back up, because you never want to get too cold. You never want to get too hot, stay there. And I just remember at a certain point in the middle of the night, I came around, because you just have to check in each lap and say your bib number so they can keep track of you. And I was like, yeah, well, so how many people are ahead of me, out of curiosity? And they're like, actually, now you were in the lead. I was like, get out of here.
That's amazing.
There's like, and they were like, where'd Keith go? And like, oh, he went in the van to warm up and he never came out.
Extended dirt nap.
So, yeah, exactly.
And a clean dirt nap, I guess.
So that's a lesson for your community there. Don't go warm up in the van.
No, you're not coming out.
Race. You're not coming back out.
You don't want to put on the Livy podcast.
How far did you end up running in the 24 hours?
So you had to finish your lap by the 24 hours. So you could not there were no partial laps to do it. So with about 30 minutes to spare, I had clocked 105 miles.
Wow. That's great.
That. And it was like coming down the home stretch, I figured out that like, oh, I just got to keep moving, and I've got this thing in the bag.
Wow, that's amazing.
And so for my last lap, I just threw on my down jacket and grabbed a beer and just walked it in.
That's a great finish too.
My one and likely only race win. But hey, take them where you can get them, right?
I think that's the only win out of the three of us right here, right now, right? I think we talked about that, Trevor, how we haven't.
We tried. I don't think we ever. We never quite answered that question. I was trying to remember if I ever won like a just a single event at like a meet.
I came in third in the under 16 division of a 5K when I was 8 years old. There was like there might have been 3 people entered in that division. I don't really remember. Maybe there was someone else.
Finishing a 5K at 8 years old, that's something to celebrate,
I don't think it was too hard at the time, and I don't know. I think what I did would most accurately have been called jogging. Because like it was in that spirit. I was just like, all right, gonna, like wasn't trying to get a time or anything, just going out there until the end. It was like jogging in the 1970s trendy sense with a really fast kick at the end, where I kicked and I beat some old lady to the finish, and then I puked.
This reminds me of I think my first road 5K, I was probably a few years older than 8, maybe 10 or 11. And I did what I think would be more typical of a kid not knowing what he was doing, which is I ran way too fast.
Yeah.
Right? And then I got so tired, and then I got a ride in the ambulance or something, not for like medical reasons, but like just
to finish
the
distance.
You gotta get this kid to the finish line.
Yeah.
But then they like let me out near the finish line and like sprinted past all these people.
That's like,
yeah, you had tons of energy by then.
We just recently heard that I think it was like the Mexico City Marathon is notorious for like thousands of runners being disqualified for like riding the subway and taking cars. And
is that what it was?
Like that. Yeah.
I thought they just took like an illegal route or something.
No, they were like riding public transport, hopping on buses, getting in cars.
Like 5 or 6 people have sent me that link, and I guess and I never read beyond the headline.
Yeah, I think I read the next part below the headline. The what is it? Subheading?
Yeah, the subheading.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
We won't need the fact checkers for that one.
We won't. No, thankfully we've got you here. And if it's not clear already, I'd say your other accolades include, if I could say it, Dave might bleep it, but you are Coach Friend. You have never been named.
Oh, that won't be bleeped. Yeah, no. That's I figured that's okay.
I mean, I think it might be my highest honor ever is to earn the title of Coach Friend.
To on a mostly weekly basis hear your wisdom diluted down a bit and passed on secondhand to the community?
Well, I didn't make any of that stuff up. I think,
It's in the public domain.
Yeah, it's just from listening to far too many podcasts, the other podcasts.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, Coach Friend is one of the most popular, probably secret people from the show, along with female gear testing correspondent.
Oh, yep.
And
is that going to be a future guest on the pod?
I don't know. It's tough.
Okay.
It's tough to say what's going to happen in the future in general.
Yeah.
That's
That is something we've often come back to.
Yeah.
The lack of predictability.
Yeah, I don't want to think that far ahead.
Yeah, it's probably good. And I mean, Dave, that like goes to like your voice has been entered my life at the exact time when I needed it too.
Oh, good.
And what I mean by that is just the joy of running. You have reintroduced me to the pure joy of running. And, that's kind of where I started. But,
Yeah.
like as you go along, you're like, well, how can I do this further? How can I do this faster? And you go down the rabbit hole of, the training and all the strategy and the techniques and the gear and all of that. And you go far enough and sometimes you lose sight of like, what are you really out here for? That joy of running. And you clearly that's what you're bringing every day.
Oh, good. I'm glad.
it.
Yeah, I'm glad that I was able to share that with you. I do really love running. I never got really good at it, but I always enjoyed it, and I've enjoyed it more and more as the years have gone on. So I often reference my 40th birthday when I just went out for a really long run. And that wasn't like I'd never run before that. I'd run plenty before that. But like there are certain moments like that where I've just really, even myself, just remembered how much I like doing it. And then since then, that wasn't really that long ago. I mean, that was 15 months ago. But since then, I've just been running like crazy, as the kids like to say.
But you're generating all that joy, smashing treadmills and running around New York City in the summer. And I'm like, well, heck, if Dave can find the joy there,
oh yeah,
I have no right being grumpy here in the woods all by myself.
I know. Well, that's one thing that the podcast has made me realize too, is I gotta get out there at some point. I mean, I do have some pretty great runs. Like I do talk about running along the Hudson River, which is actually pretty amazing. I run on the other side too, in the East River, which is also pretty great, but it's probably not as beautiful as a lot of running in nature, which I have done from time to time. But like I was thinking about it today, actually, because today, a couple hours ago, I went for a run. I didn't have that much time, and I thought it would make sense, since we're recording the day before the community mile. I hadn't been down to the John Lindsay track in a while. I thought I should scope it out.
Totally.
So I ran there.
Strategy.
Yeah, I ran there, and usually to run there, I would run around the southern tip of Manhattan, through Battery Park up the East River. But that's probably like 6 miles. And so like, I didn't really have time to like run 6 miles, run around, run 6 miles back. So I ran just like straight east, which is where it is for me, which is like 2 miles.
A Direttissima, if you will.
Yeah, exactly. And so like I ran down Houston at like rush hour. It's just like totally crowded city street full of people walking to the subway, and similar to my run to Best Buy that time, except much further. And more buses and more exhaust. And I was thinking about how ridiculous that run was. And it was pretty absurd. But then I did get to the track, and the track itself, when I got there, I remember how great it is. It's this nice soft rubber track, like nice and easy on the knees. A lot of people there, but not too crowded or anything like that. So it's the community thing, but nobody's in each other's way. And that's all. Yeah, and that is on the river, so the view itself is beautiful. So got me pretty excited for
the community mile.
For the community mile. Then I heard some thunder, and I ran home partially in the rain.
It sounds like devoted community members are going to have to make sure that they tie their no excuses laces real tight.
Oh yeah.
I think we're going to have some weather here for the community mile.
I think in New York it's going to be okay.
Okay.
I've been checking the forecast a little bit, but we'll have to check again in the morning. But yeah, no excuses rules certainly apply, as always. But I think we're going to luck out, because the other thing that's hopefully about the community mile is it's not just a run, because the run isn't going to take terribly long. It's also just sitting in the bleachers next to the track, eating some Bobos and talking about running and music and anything else. That is probably the talking part is is detracted from more by rain than the running, because running in the rain's all right, you know.
Yeah. So we're all participating.
Should we turn this into more of a race preview?
Yeah, Coach. What are your predictions?
Well, so like the time, the Bosworth time, the established Bosworth time is an interesting number because back in my track coaching days, so the mile time to qualify for the state meet was 5:30. And I had one runner who was kind of chasing that time. And I would try to pace him on it, but I think the fastest I did, so I would kind of get him through usually the first 3 laps kind of on pace, and then he would have to go ahead of me because I couldn't hold it.
Wow.
So I think maybe it was like 5:40, somewhere in the mid 5:40s was like the fastest time where I completed a mile. But I, like you, Dave, have not really, other than that, and that was several years ago at this point, recorded a mile time. So I have no idea. Looking to this, I'm not in peak shape. This last year has been a rough year.
Okay.
A year of illness and injury. After 10 great years, I was due for a clunker.
Yeah, it's a good run, I guess. 10 is pretty good.
Yeah, 10's really good. So this year was the clunker. So knowing that I will not be at my best, I am opting to participate in the skip division.
Nice.
For this.
An increasingly popular division.
But I think, we're guaranteed to have some people go under the Bosworth, whether Bosworth himself will go under his own record speed walking time. That's really what the fans want to know, isn't it?
That's the big question.
Yeah.
The headline story.
That's more interesting than whether someone else can do it. Yeah. I actually did check in with popular runner and former special guest Pierce Leiden, who may make it to the, if they can, they're going to make it out to the community mile, but they were in a 1 mile race yesterday and PR'd.
They were whittling it down towards 5 minutes, weren't they?
Yeah. 5:08 at the Fifth Avenue mile. So
only a matter of time before they go under that huge landmark.
Yeah, that's a good
one that can get under 5,
That's a good 5:08's good, and then that's getting dangerously close to getting to a 4:59, which is very exciting.
Yeah.
I'm thinking for the skip mile, I mean, this could be ambitious, but you got to dream big, right?
Yeah.
I think an 8-minute skip mile.
Ooh, okay.
I love that.
That's going to take some work. So, but we'll see. I'll get back to you on that.
I know what an 8-minute, run feels like, because that's like what my 4 mile pace is. A skip 8. That's.
We'll see, Dave. What are your hopes and dreams?
Oh, Lord.
Is that public?
No, no. I've speculated. I just have no idea. Is the thing. I think like a realistic goal is, which I don't even know, is maybe like 6:30. I have no idea. But like, what in my heart do I want? Yeah, in my heart, I'm looking for No, I have no. I don't even know I have no idea what I can do. I'm going to run it as hard as I can, but that's probably a bad idea.
That's a good idea. I would have come in. I'm not going to be running my hardest. I'm trying to decide what division to enter, or to potentially multi-ambulate and do like different form for each lap. I might just. I was telling Dave earlier off pod, I might just have to go by feel. Just because I've got a little bit of an injury. Speaking of the White Mountain endurance races, we got the Kilkenny coming up, and coaches. You're pacing me kindly, and
supposedly that might flip. We'll see when we get out there.
We'll see who's injured worse. How bad you're hurt up from the skipping.
A good question is, where do we think the best time will come from? Will it be at the John Lindsay track? Will it be Belgium? Will it be somewhere else?
Time or overall with enjoyment factor?
Let's do both.
Now I'm going to give the nod. I think on both of those, somebody at the event.
Okay.
I think the crowd energy, the feeding off the power motion community. I think it's both going to send the enjoyment upward. And now that you've explained a little bit more about the track and the scene, how could you not be motivated there too?
Yeah.
And I think that's going to translate to fast times.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. It is great there, actually. It is a really nice place. I enjoyed my half mile running around it today. Actually just being out there made me want to run faster. I had to like control myself to be like, no, you have 2 miles home. You still got to run. You can't like, you don't want to get exhausted and then like walk home in the rain.
Yeah,
I know.
stack of bobos at the finish line.
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
Extra
see,
motivation.
like, unless I mean, maybe that's the secret. Maybe I got to go pick up some Bobos.
Oh yeah,
tomorrow
Yeah,
and not let myself enjoy one until the end. And
They're great.
I might make that 8 minute dream become a reality, especially if you're going to find the lemon poppy seed. Then we're really talking.
Ooh.
This is the Power Motion Picnic Hour.
I actually always say I'm gonna have to do creative editing and then really don't. So this might be a good week for it, actually, right? 'Cause this is kind of a strange episode, and I think we're gonna do some live recording from down at the John Lindsay track.
Oh, amazing! Get some of that fresh audio in there.
Yeah.
Because for people like me that won't be able to make the trip, to just give me that little taste.
And we'll see how much we'll include. Like, I don't have a windscreen for this microphone, for instance. So we don't know what it's gonna, we might be huddled. We're gonna be sharing one mic, possibly huddled inside a windbreaker.
Yeah.
So we'll see. But I guess to continue with the predictions, what else do we want to predict or even just speculate about that might happen at tomorrow's event?
I think Bosworth takes the UK first place.
Okay. Yeah, that's our second, well, one of our top 3 countries now.
Mhm.
Yeah.
It's probably our second, right?
Probably.
Second largest. Yeah.
I was just looking at the analytics. Yeah, we have listeners from all over the UK, actually.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah.
Is female gear tester participating in the community mile?
She is. Yeah. Are we speculating on her time?
Does she have a goal, or is there any gear being put to the test live at the community mile?
I think she said she wanted to get under 7 minutes.
Okay.
So
In zero sandals?
I asked that question earlier, and she said no. I said, what are you gonna run in for footwear? And she said, my running shoes. So good answer.
Strong move there.
Yeah. So she's thinking time, I think, not fashion.
Oh, and we were going to ask too if you had any given your coaching any suggestions for Dave and I in terms of our strategies and what it looks like to execute a good race tomorrow.
Well, okay. Put on my coach hat. We'll set the friend hat off to the side.
This man's got 2 hats.
I came prepared. So what I would say is make the community mile at least your second mile of the day, right? If you're going in, if you haven't do a mile warm up, right? Get it really going and really get those leg swings and that dynamic stretching. A little bit of like tippy tappy rapid feet. You can go back to your track days and do some Mario jumps and some butt kicks and all that stuff. Make sure when you're in the Fortissimo and 1 category, you got to take the prep seriously. So you just want to make sure everything's primed and ready before you shoot off that starting line. That's what I would say. That's the number one thing I would say going in.
Okay.
Too. And then I would say a lot of it's going to be, you're just going to have to control the emotions. There's going to be so much excitement and so much hype, but you want to keep that heart rate nice and low as you can. So some good deep breathing right before, and just trying to keep all those emotions, that excitement in check before the gun goes off. And then I would say just, aim to make that last lap your fastest lap. Save a little juice for the kick, but then spend the juice.
Yeah.
You don't want any juice at the finish line. Okay. And then Dave, if you're seeing that clock, it's 6:29, 6:27, 6:28, 6:29. Don't be afraid to go for the full-on dive for the finish. It's the first body that crosses the finish line. So if that's what it takes, just don't be afraid to lay it on the line.
Well, I know I won't be, and I'm going to go full Boris Becker out there if I have to. But that being said, I am probably going to be running watchless, and so I probably won't know my time until he comes in. That's
probably really smart approach there.
Well, I don't know. I just like to do it that way. I mean, I when I run races with New York Road Runners, I think I'm doing a certain pace, and it's not usually related to any real time. So the same phenomenon could take place tomorrow. Most likely will.
Yeah. I think the hard for you and Trevor, it's going to be not being afraid to go, as fast as, because you guys are used to like logging miles. You kick it back, and
Yeah.
this is a whole other ball game. This is a short game.
Yeah.
So you got to not be afraid to tap into that speed.
I did a run last week in like 95 degrees in the middle of the day where I ran. I don't know how far it was, but it was definitely sub 2. And so that was probably the closest I've run to this. And I ran it as hard as I could.
Wow.
That being said, I have no idea what my time was on that. But that I got kind of the feel of what it felt like to be going pretty hard and then getting a little tired and trying to keep pushing through that, because knowing that it's a short run and you're not going to have to push for that long.
So the community wants to know, have we heard from Susie Hot Rod, and has she ventured into the world of running? Has she stuck a toe in yet? Do we know?
So I don't know. So maybe we're gonna have to follow up about that. I know she's not gonna be able to join us for the mile because she had a conflict.
Yeah.
So we won't be able to check in tomorrow, but maybe the episode after that we'll have some follow-up info, because that is a great question, and I think our listeners in whatever country they're in want to know.
Well, and I think that particular episode was chock full of wisdom, and I think you guys are really on your A game for that one. And I think Susie too brought great insights and great questions. And I think the number one thing that I was fist pumping about on my run as I was listening to that episode was just the permission to run slow, especially when you're starting out. Your body's not used to it. Like jog, whoop, 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 it came out slow a little bit, go slow a little bit. And don't be afraid to go slow and then walk, and then go slow and then walk, right? I think it's when we put this exterior pressure that like running should be something. I remember when I was first starting to run, I would just go out and hammer. So I started running when I was 30. Like Trevor, that first crazy thing was, I'm doing the presidential traverse and I'm going to do it as fast as I can.
Yeah.
So I started running, like really I was somebody in college that I remember saying the words, running is stupid. I only like to run if I'm chasing people, running away from people, or running after a ball. Okay. Yeah. Other forms of running, I don't understand it. Those words literally came out of my mouth in my confident, naive youth.
Yeah.
So
couldn't possibly be wrong. Yeah.
Yeah, right. Exactly. And then when I was first starting up, I would go and kind of do what's probably least productive, which I had this like 8-mile trail route that I would do like 3 times a week. And I would always do it kind of almost as hard as I could. And come to find out, as I learned a lot more over the years, that that's about the least productive way to get better at running long term.
Yeah.
It's actually kind of in that conversational zone is where you're building up your aerobic capacity too. And so you guys, it's not only a way to be inclusive to running, to go slow, but it actually makes physiological sense too. And then you guys, I mean, you have just nailed it too over all these episodes, because now you've introduced the idea is like be okay running slowly, keep it chill.
Oh,
and
yeah.
then run really fast for little short bursts.
Yeah.
But be playful with it, right? 30 seconds, go for a minute, do it on the uphill treadmill, mix and match. And I think that's the recipe right there, is chill running most of the time, and then zippity doo-dah, stuff mixed in, and then you'll see the improvement.
Have a way to make it fun. One thing I mentioned several episodes ago, probably first season, was when I was running on a treadmill and watching the World Cup last year.
Oh, yeah.
And there was, I can't remember what game it was. I think it was England-Wales. and somebody scored a goal, and it was just so thrilling, and I felt like I was one of the boys, and I just that's something. Just do it, go with it, go with the TV, like if you're on a treadmill, or just like do a fartlek if you're if you're exploring the terrain, as they do in, where was that, Sweden? Yeah, if you're running Swedish style.
Well, and Dave, this is another brilliant thing you've introduced. I mean, I don't know if other people have discussed this, but in addition to strides for speed, I feel like you may be the innovator of fartleks for fitness. In particular, the city fartlek, which is whenever the crowd is thin enough where you can run fast.
Yeah.
Run really fast until you can't anymore because there's too many people. I think it's a great way to structure your fartlek run right there.
I was thinking about that today when I was running to the just straight east across the city, because you get stopped at traffic lights sometimes like that, and you kind of got to run in place, which isn't really the same. And I'm like, sometimes that annoys me because I'm like, I want to keep running, but I'm like, no, that's just like you're slowing down. And then when you can run hard, run hard for a while, and make up for it.
Baby.
Yeah, make up for it. And then you can settle back into whatever pace you're looking for based on whatever kind of distance you're doing. But yeah, just working with what you got is a life lesson that I've learned over the years. And you gotta, work with what you have access to. I was just thinking about and talking about that today because we listened to the full album from last week's Song of the Week, the Langley School Music Project, Innocence and Despair. And Hans Fenger, the music teacher who assembled those kids and had them do that and recorded that record, he was just working with what he had. Like his life plan wasn't to be a rural music school teacher in British Columbia. I think he had other plans as a musician, but he probably never would have become as famous a musician if he hadn't gotten stuck out there.
2 questions for you. I know as not only as coach friend, I feel like I may be, I don't know, the biggest fan, biggest listener. I don't know.
Tallest listener.
I know one is, what is the origin of the name Power Motion Picnic Hour?
That's a great question. The Power Motion Picnic Hour started because we started the original college radio show. We needed to think of a name. And at the same time, we were in Newtonian mechanics and physics together. And the first physics lab was called the Motion Picnic. And we both really loved physics and going to physics class. So we decided to combine our 2 favorite things in the world, which was physics. So we took the name The Motion Picnic, and drinking a shot of beer every minute for 60 minutes, which is the power hour. So we combined a physics lab and a power hour as the Power Motion Picnic Hour, which is just like an amazingly great thing if you could have the 2 things exist as one thing.
I feel like it invokes like the power, like I want to bring my power to the run. But then, an hour is like a good period for the run. But then the picnic keeps me grounded. Like there should be a picnic element.
Yeah,
as well. If it's all power without a picnic,
life is a picnic, right?
And so the other question is, in the outro, what are the lyrics in the outro?
To the punk part of the song?
Yes. Yeah.
Oh, well, and Trevor wrote those lyrics. We used to think of running as mere analogy, like a long run, a description of our band's longevity. Now we're really running with our feet on tread or ground. We discuss it on our podcast. What's the last line?
The best running one around.
The best running one around. Yeah.
All right. I think, could you do a public service and maybe get that on a future Insta post maybe for
that's a good idea.
I feel like I took in a little bit of that, but I think I need to
we'll post it.
A couple passes at it and maybe digest it a little bit.
We'll post the whole thing, and then there's also the lyrics to the stoner rock section of the song, which is what I think it is. I should also say, I told Trevor, I'm like, oh, we need a theme song. I'm like, send me some lyrics, and he's quick. I knew that's why I said it that way. I was like, this will be a good method, and he sent over those lyrics in 10 minutes.
No
15. It wasn't long, and they were very quick. I knew it would take me longer if I had to write the lyrics, and whatever it ended up being. And so my vibe for the intro of the song, my inspiration, I thought was is when Billy Madison passes the 3rd grade and he has that hair metal band sing. I was going for like an indie rock version of that song. That's the vibe I was going for, musically and melodically.
Well, it works. Well, hey guys, best of luck.
Yeah.
Tomorrow at the Community Mile. Dave, you're going to be tough to take down in the enjoyment category. I know.
We'll see. We'll see. It's gonna be fun out there.
Yeah, he's a favorite. Yeah.
Maybe I can put on if I slip the Bosworth interview back in my ears when I hit it, maybe I can pull out some good skipping too.
Yeah, no, we can't wait to hear tell everyone how our mile went, hear how your mile went, hear how everyone else's mile went, and then compile that all together and present it in some sort of graphical format and figure out what we learned.
I'm looking forward to it.
Break it down. Yeah, Randy, thanks so much for joining us and revealing your true identity to the world.
Thanks, Dave. Thanks, Trevor.
Yeah.
It's been a pleasure. Take care, guys.
All right. Thanks, Coach.
Do you want to say onward?
Randy.
1, 2. Onward.
We used to think of running as mere analogy. This is the Power Motion Picnic Hour, your favorite of the few, with a mile of special guest.
lights on the inside of the track.
This is the Power